We all have films that we don't like, but I want to talk about a few films that I really hate, that I honestly do, that I have a really strong disdain for, and I'm going to list them for you here now, and so let's just get into it. Hi everyone and welcome back to the channel, and welcome to this here new video where I'm going to look at some films that I really don't like. Yes, obviously art is subjective, film is subjective, film is art, and we all like what we like and we all dislike what we dislike, and this video here is by no means a way of me attempting to change your opinion on something, because if there is stuff within these films that you really enjoyed, then that's fantastic that you got something out of it, something that I didn't. And I'm pretty sure that in my collection there's going to be films that you have a strong disdain for that I like. That's just the way it goes. So this here video is by no means meant to cause any arguments or anything like this. We have to accept what each other likes and dislikes about films and have conversations on that, because those conversations are interesting. Those conversations about our differences in taste is what drives us to collect, what drives us to talk about movies. But unfortunately, like in any walk of life, a difference of opinion means war. Yes, but no, here we go. So this is a list of I've thrown a few in here, and this isn't like in any particular order or anything like that. All of these films are grouped together as films that I completely dislike, and I'll tell you the reasons, as opposed to it was rubbish, it was crap, I just didn't like it. I'll give you reasons as to why I don't like it. And some of those reasons are for personal reasons and things like this. So let's just begin. So I'm going to go back to 1984 with this first film, directed by David Lynch and starring Carl MacLachlan, Virginia Madsen, Sting, Patrick Stewart and Brad Dourif. And we're talking about Frank Herbert's Dune. Yes, the very first Dune film that came out all that time ago, with a fantastic cast. Carl MacLachlan's really good. You know, Virginia Madsen I adore. I thought she was fantastic back in the day. Sting, I don't know if he's a good actor or not, but Patrick Stewart, Sir Patrick Stewart, he's fantastic. And Brad Dourif is a very good, strong character actor in himself. David Lynch is a renowned director. He's directed some fantastic projects. Unfortunately, Dune is just a film that I do not enjoy. Now, I did like the remake version. I thought that was a fantastic movie. But this one here, this film here, and there's a reason why I don't like it. And this is where it goes into like a personal kind of a bias, shall we say, against this movie. Now, I remember in 1984, I would have been about 8 years old, and I was home from school. Remember, it had been primary school, and I was ill. I was really, really sick, and I was just laid out on the sofa down in the front room with like a cover over me, all this sort of thing. And I remember my dad putting this movie on to watch. It was probably a pirate copy of the film, and not that, you know, at that age, a film was a film. I couldn't really determine really that that's a really bad picture that you're looking at. Do you know what I mean? Or anything like that. I just remember this film being on, and I remember being bored. I mean, I was extremely bored with this film. It done nothing for me whatsoever. But I was probably too young to appreciate it or anything like this. I'm pretty sure that today it's probably still a very boring movie. However, I will not go back and visit it. And why not? Because that film is a direct link to my psyche of me at the time and how I felt when I was extremely ill, laid out on that sofa. It's much akin to You know how sometimes if you've eaten something and you've developed a really bad food poisoning for it, that you won't touch that food again. It makes you sick to touch that food again. It's much akin to that in the psyche of me. So yeah, June 1984 is on that list for that very reason. Now with a lot of these next ones, you're going to see a lot of similarity, a lot of connective tissue almost between these films. You can pick that stuff out yourself. But the first film is from last year, and that is X, 2022's X. Yeah, written and directed by Ty West, starring Mia Goth, Jenna Ortega, and some other people as well. Now, this is a film that when it came, everyone was like, ooh. Now, I'm not sort of person that jumps onto the bandwagon, right? I don't have to agree that a film is great just because everyone else tells me that it is great. I'll watch a film, I'll formulate my opinion, and there's no sheep stuff going on. I'm not going to do what other sheep do and jump on and say, do you know what? That was actually really good. Or, do you know what? That was rubbish because you tell me it was rubbish. No, we have to make our own opinions up. An X from 2022, I had a wealth of problems with. Now, interestingly, as a juxtaposition to that, I really like the movie Pearl. So I've got nothing against Ty West as a writer or a director. However, when X came about, I watched it and I thought it was a disgusting movie. I thought it was a disgusting, cynically written and directed, and also somewhat, what's the word I'm looking for? It was a very manipulative movie as well. In the sense that people love horror. People love horror. They're drawn to it. There's a psyche within certain people, certain demographic of people that are drawn to horror. Now, I'm not digging them out. If that's their go-to, their go-to genre, fantastic. I don't particularly understand it, but there we go. But not only that, this film delved into the world of pornography as well. Two sort of taboo subjects, really violent kind of gore and pornography, and put them together to draw your audience in, right? Because the setting for this film is 1979, and we've got a group of these individuals that go to this cabin in the woods, essentially. That's all it is, a cabin in the woods kind of a film, where there's this old couple that rent this place out. And these people have gone there to make a porn film. Because VHS has come in and the era of this film is set, and porn's starting to sort of, that is blossoming, that kind of business, shall we say. So they've gone there to make this porn movie. So first of all, like I said, you've got these two things. I saw it straight away. Okay, you're trying to draw an audience in with the tease of violence and the tease of nudity, and for me, I saw through this, and I just thought it was a disgusting, horrible film. I really did. It done absolutely nothing for me. It was boring, it was dull, and it was rather sick. It was a rather sick film, and it left a bad taste in my mouth. So even though Pearl is a film that I got in the collection just a week or so ago, this film, no chance. I would not pick X up. Pearl for me is a one and done movie. I'll see Maxine when it comes out and see what that's like, but I don't need to watch X to see Pearl. I don't need to know what this character went on to do as an old lady afterwards. Yeah, not a very good film. And then, keeping with 2022, and we have the movie Men. Written and directed by Alex Garland, starring Jessie Buckley and the fantastic Rory Kinnear. Now, Rory Kinnear is a fantastic actor. He's a stage actor primarily. He got fantastic range. He's got great comic timing. And I've seen him do some wonderful, wonderful projects and some wonderful roles. He was very good in... there was a film, I can't remember the title of the film now, it's eluded me, when he starred with Simon Pegg in a comedy, with Lake Bell. And he was very good in that. He only had a support role. He was very funny in that. And then also he was in the TV series Penny Dreadful as Frankenstein. And in that, he just stole every scene that he was in. He was so, you know, method and so stage. You could tell that he was from stage. Anyway, so this film here, again, it delves into folk horror. Folk horror is not a big genre for me. And again, this is a very cynical film that had a lot to say in its subtext about men, right? Because at the end of this film, right, or as the film progresses, the girl, you know, her marriage has broken down, her husband or boyfriend has either died in an accident or committed suicide. We're not sure, and she goes to get away from it. And this is after an argument that they've had, and their relationship's going to be split up. And we never know whether he's fallen from this balcony or he's jumped or what from above, right? Whether it's just coincidence. So she goes away to get away from it all. She goes to this small town in like English countryside, and every male character in this film is portrayed by Rory Kinnear. It goes on to say that men, essentially, when you read its subtext, men are faceless. Men are all the same. It doesn't matter what face you've got on them. They're all the same individual. They're nasty, evil people. Not only that, this film has this extremely sickening scene at the end where Rory Kinnear is birthing himself over and over and over again. Now this gets into folklore of paganism and all this, and the Green Man and all this sort of a thing in it, right? But what this is saying to us as men is that through generationally, men have stayed the same. So you've got men in this film, all the same face, wearing the same face. Then the birthing scene, birthing, over and over again. And it says that generationally, men are all the same. They remain the same. They're all of the same ilk, all of the same cloth, nasty, evil men. That's what this film says. And, you know, I'm surprised that Rory Kinnear even took part in this project. I was shocked, to be honest. This film was shockingly abysmal for that reason, and not a film that I would have in the collection. It leaves a really bad taste in my mouth, a really sickening taste in my mouth, much akin to how I felt when I was ill watching Dune. I have that kind of a recollection of this film. When I see it, when I think about it, this just horrible taste appears in my mouth. Now, speaking of horrible tastes, we're going to jump onto another film, and a relatively new film as well, 2019, directed by Ari Aster and written by Ari Aster, and that movie is Midsommar. Yes. Now, you might notice a lot of connection between Midsommar, Men and X. Yeah, I mean, you can pull them connections yourself beyond the fact that they're all written and directed by the same. Each film has their own person writing and directing. The writer and director of each film is the same. Not in the sense that they made each film, all three films, but the writer and director on each film was both the writer and director, if that makes sense. So Midsommar, again, another folk horror kind of a movie, and this follows these individuals. I think they go to somewhere in Europe where it's this summer festival, and it all seems nice and, you know, hippie-fied first until all this nastiness starts to happen. Now, this film here is, I can't remember it to tell you the whole story, but it's got some very sick visuals to it, a very sick aesthetic, shall we say, in what it does. The film stars Florence Pugh and Jack Reiner, and I believe, if I remember rightly, Florence Pugh is sort of brought into this cult, into this way of thinking, and takes their side on stuff and starts doing what they do, if I remember rightly. Film runs for 2 hours and 28 minutes, and I only found that out today. I cannot believe, looking at it on IMDb, I can't believe this film ran for that long and I actually sat through it. All I know, again, is that this film left a bad taste in my mouth. It really did, and it just made me feel physically sick with some of the stuff that I was seeing, and much akin to Men and X. It just, this nasty taste left in my mouth, and Unfortunately, or luckily, I cannot remember it too much. But there we go. So I'm going to speak about a couple more in a minute. But, you know, one film that I did consider putting on this list was Hereditary. But I decided not to, because Hereditary was actually a film that I'd switched off. I switched off so far into it. I did see the girl lose her head, sticking her head out the car window, and I just thought, you know, this film ain't working for me. I'm going to switch it off. So it'd be unfair for me to actually list that as one of these films. So another film that came out not too long ago was Licorice Pizza by Paul Thomas Anderson. Now, with this film here, I actually bought this film as a blind buy, because everyone out there, right, within this sort of this you know, blue tube community were talking this film up. They were saying that this was like the best film since sliced bread. So, and I kind of bought into some of that rhetoric, you know. And I thought maybe I'm missing something here that's actually pretty damn good. So I'm going to buy it. I'm going to watch it. I sent it back. So this film here follows two characters played by Alana Hain, and her name in it is Alana, and it rhymes with Hain. Twain, Payne, I don't know. Stain, who cares? And Cooper Hoffman. Film is set in 1973, and it basically has no narrative to it whatsoever. There's no story to this film. It's just people doing stuff. It's about this sort of love interest between these two in this summer of 1973, and it just follows them. And that's about it. It's got some big cameos in the film that completely wasted. Sean Penn and I think Bradley Cooper off the top of my head. Completely wasted. No point in them being in proceedings whatsoever. But for me, this film was just boring. It was boring. This is a film where I'll say this was boring. But beyond it being boring, it had no narrative. It had no strong narrative to it. Not only that, I found it a bit weird. That this girl, who was somewhat older than this young boy, was essentially stalking him, chasing him down. Do you know what I mean? If that was done in today's society, you'd be banged up. The woman would be, you know what I mean? Yeah, and not only that, this boy didn't play it. Cooper Hoffman. Is he the son or grandson of Thingy Hoffman? Anyway, I think he is. He played it. He played his role. I think he was meant to be something like 15 or something stupid like that in it. But at no point did I believe that this was a 15-year-old kid, with the, you know, how experienced he was with women and things like this and girls. It just came across as ludicrous in that sense, and I didn't believe a word of what I saw. And like I said, ultimately the whole film I came away thinking, what was the narrative of that? What was the narrative point? What was the story and all that sort of thing? So again, a film that I had no interest with. Now let me talk about one more film that I despised upon viewing, and for very good reason actually, and that was Scream 6. Scream 6. Earlier this year, obviously, not long ago. This is a film that I said should be banned, and it created a bit of a storm. Why should it be banned? I thought this film was disgusting in its use of knives. And how we experience knife crime in a country such as this. It's a big deal. And this film just, it lauded the knife. It showed the knife as being something wonderful. And not only that, the fact that the knife causes no harm to anyone. I thought that was really poor taste filmmaking, in the sense that there's no, you know, effect, no cause and effect from stabbing someone. Someone gets stabbed in, you know, people throughout this film are getting stabbed deep in their stomachs, deep into their backs, and they're getting up and they're still walking around, running around like nothing has happened, like it's a you know, a paper cut or something like that. And I thought that this film should show a bit more maturity and actually show us, you know, a genuine effect of knife crime. Now you might say to me, oh, but Scream 5 done that, Scream 4. Okay, I've seen Scream 5 and I cannot remember a thing about it, right? I've seen Screams 1, 2 and 3. I don't think I've seen 4. 4 is the only one I've got in the collection, ironically, because I picked it up for about £1 and I was going to watch it, but I never got round to it. So Scream 1, 2 and 3 are films that I watched back in the day. And yeah, back in the day, I remember enjoying them. They were okay. I was somewhat younger. They'd come off the back of Freddy's New Nightmare, which was sort of like a sort of blueprint for what Scream would be. They seemed kind of relevant at the time. They had a lot to say about film, and they seemed fresh. So I did enjoy them at the time. Probably not so much now, but this is the one that sticks with me for these very reasons. And I thought that it was just bad practice to kind of make light of what such a weapon can do, because believe me, someone could come up to you with a penknife of yay big, stab you, and you're gonna die. The injury that will do to you if they get the right spot could potentially kill you. No, this film, they're stabbing you with knives this big into the gut, into the back, and you're like, oh, and then you're running around, and you're not dead, and then everyone pops up at the end alive, just with a flipping bandage wrapped around them, and it's like, take some responsibility for what you're putting on screen, for what you're trying to show people, and any potential message from this sort of a project. Now I know it's only film. People say to me, "Oh, it's film and it's all this." Fair enough, right? It is film, yeah. And then people say to me, "Oh, well, people ain't going to copy that." I mean, I've seriously, I've had conversations with people who have cited things like Batman. Yes, Batman. I've had people say to me, "Oh, what about the knife crime in Joker?" Joker had okay, Joker, when Batman Dark Knight came out, there was a lot of controversy over the knife stuff within that film. It was spoken about. It was a big issue. But people say to me, "Oh, what about Superman? People ain't going to go on top of a building and try and fly." No, but kids who've got access to this sort of material now, because it's all over the internet, it's everywhere you go, right? You can't hide children from ratings on a film anymore, right? You cannot do it. You can at the cinema doors. You can say, hold on a minute, you're not 18, you're not getting in, bugger off. But in 3 months' time, when that film's on streaming, there you go, lad, go and watch it. Every child that you've got, right, if you're a parent, has access to a knife. Tell me they don't. Tell me they can't walk down into that kitchen and take a knife out of your cutlery drawer, right? Even not a sharp knife, right? Tell me that you would know whether they went to school with a knife or not. You wouldn't. You wouldn't, right? I wouldn't know, I ain't got kids in my household anymore, but I wouldn't know if a butter knife has gone from the drawer, or a kitchen, a table knife, right? A table knife is blunt, but if you shove it into someone hard enough, it's going to do some it's going to do some damage, isn't it? It certainly is. So you can't say that these things are available to children, but yeah, Superman, people wouldn't know, of course they wouldn't. They're not stupid, but a knife is an everyday thing. I was amazed. I was sat in a restaurant the other day, not 2 weeks ago, right? And a burger came out. Not on my table, a table a couple down, right? A burger came out, right? And sometimes burgers are held together with a wooden stick to hold it in place, and you take that wooden stick out and that sort of a thing. This burger came out. They brought this burger out with a knife, like a steak knife kind of a thing, stuck into it, holding it together, and presented it to the people on the table like that. And I said to my missus, I goes, "Do you see that?" I goes, that's shocking. That is shocking, right? Because you're pointing towards the knife. There was kids on this table as well, right? Now, my point is that yes, a child will be sat down at a table and they've got a knife and fork with them at the table. That's a norm, right? That is a norm. You're not pointing you're not pointing towards this knife and saying anything other than it being sat on the table, that is there for the purpose that it is there for eating your dinner, right? So the kid has no other thought about that knife on the table, a normal kid anyway. But the minute you bring a knife out that's now holding a burger in place, right, you're actually pointing towards this, you're making something out of this knife. You've drawn an attention to this knife, Yeah, because me, if someone brought a burger out with a little steak in it, a little, you know, wooden thing, you don't think nothing of it, right? Because it's normal practice, right? But they bring a knife out, and straight away I'm like, wow, there's a knife sticking out of that burger to hold it in place. Right? I don't know if they thought that this was good or what, or clever, or made it look something different than what it was. But it draws a focus to the knife more than what the knife should actually be used and utilised for. And this is what I'm saying about a film like Scream. And yes, other films are probably guilty of this as well. But the fact that you've got a film where there's no responsibility taken for the use of such a thing, and you're not even willing to show real consequence. A kid could pick up a knife and go to school and think, this isn't actually going to do anything to someone. That is my whole point. And for that reason, this film here was just, it drove me insane for that very reason. So there we go. I've presented you with actually, I think, 7 movies there. Have I not? Or 6? I don't know. I can't remember. But there we go. There are films that I just completely despise and the reasons that I do. Now, I'm done here, so I'm going to invite you into the comment section. And why don't you tell me some films that you completely despise? And if you've got arguments for these films, you know, like I said, art is subjective. So, and my opinion on these films is in no way trying to change your or sway your opinion on them. I know a lot of these films were big films and they've got a lot of fan followers, and that is great if they're your cup of tea. For me, they obviously weren't. But yeah, I wouldn't take that away from anyone. Just bear that in mind. So again, comments are open down below. Let's have a nice friendly conversation about films that you might despise as well, and the reasons why. Let me know. I'm really intrigued. And I shall see you later. Take care all, and goodbye.